Hey everyone, in today's video I am driving the $625 Audi A3. It's back on the road legally, and in this video I'm going to show you the last few things we did before getting it inspected, and finally I'm going to break down what it cost to get this back on the road from start to finish. And we'll talk about whether it was worth it or not. Right now, I am on my way to get this car washed because it's parked under a tree and the birds are back. They're making a mess on the car, so they could definitely use a bath. First, let me show you the last few jobs we did.
The first thing we did was remove the tint from the front windows. This is optional, of course, and whether you decide to remove it or not will probably depend on where you live and what you like. Tint quality varies, so some are easier to remove than others. This tint didn't tear too easily, and we were actually able to peel it off in big pieces, and we didn't need a steam cleaner. Some tints do benefit from steam to help release the adhesive. Now, as you peel the tint off, something we learned the hard way is that you should use a solvent like Goof Off to clean the adhesive off the glass to prevent the window from getting stuck in its tracks. We ended up having to use a suction cup to help lower one of the windows after taking the top of the tint off because we raised it up, and we had to use a lubricant to raise the other window when we lowered it into the door and it got stuck. So clean as you go so you don't end up in the same situation. So here's something else we did. When we got the car, the seat bottoms were torn up, so we ended up installing some seat covers. They don't match perfectly, but they look a lot better than what's underneath. It's actually pretty easy to forget that they're there. These aren't necessary to get the car on the road legally, but they certainly make it a nicer place to be. The last job we did was to install an Android radio, since this car had no radio in it when we got it. I'll be making a video about this radio very soon, so stay tuned for that. And that wraps up the last few projects.
I am coming up on the car wash, and this is a touch wash, and for most of my cars I prefer not to go to touch washes, but this car's paint's not perfect. It's got some dents on it, and I just want it to be clean, and this is a good way to do it, and this place is actually quite nice, so you get to ride along for the car wash. We'll do a little bit of recap while we're in there of what we've done on the car. No, wipers off. Okay. Stop it. No. Okay. Accidentally left my wipers on. Not a good thing. Wow, this is probably gonna be too loud for the audio. So let's do a quick recap. So we've done a lot of work on this car. We did pushing and pulling on the rear damage for the structure, and we did a little bit of welding even to help assist with that. We did some paintless dent repair on the outside because we got crushed in somehow. And we replaced the subwoofer, one of the tail lights, because that was completely destroyed, both of those. We fixed some front end damage. We actually had the horn mounts had broken off, and we had to make sure the bumper was attached properly again. We've done a fair amount of work servicing the engine. We did oil change, transmission fluid change. We did the PCV system. We've serviced the vacuum pump because that was leaking oil and potentially causing a vacuum leak in the engine. So, and we did a valve cleaning too. And with all that, the car is running great. It's way better than it was. And it's on the road legally. Why'd that only do the top? Come on, you didn't even do my hood with that thing. Anyway.
Now for the moment you've been waiting for, the cost breakdown. So we bought the car for $625. Copart charged $373 in fees, and then fees for registration, salvage inspection, and all that was $371. For parts, we bought a hatch and bumper for $700, a subwoofer for $55, a tail light for $75, seat covers for $115, and a new head unit for $197. For the drivetrain, For the engine, parts and service, everything we did was $267, and for our transmission service kit, we paid $137. And that brings our grand total to $2,915.57.
Now, was it worth it to rebuild this car, getting it for $625? Well, based on what I've seen in Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist, yeah, definitely. It's came out, a lot of stuff is listed at or way above what we have into this. So, minus the fact that it's got a couple dings and the bodywork's not perfect yet, and the hatch is gray and the bumper's gray. It's really good. It drives really well. It's really peppy. It's fun. It's a good little, pretty efficient front-wheel drive car, and it's practical with being a hatchback. So, when my other cars are not that efficient, having this, being able to drive this in an efficient way and getting better gas mileage is really good. And you put it in sport mode, and well, economy is no longer good, but it's a ton of fun. And you get the paddle shifters too, so yeah, it's nice. If you want to have this as a fun little car to run around, run errands, pick up parts, it's perfect. We've even used this to move projects around that can't move under their own power, so big plus there too. It's good, and this is a good platform for maybe taking it to autocross or doing power mods in the future. And yeah, around 3,000, it's in good shape back on the road with some upgrades already, like the Android radio. We're actually going to be also doing some more stuff on this car. We've got a full black interior to put in, so that'll be a nice upgrade. And we will be doing a wrap. We've got some Vivid wrap in like a metallic matte blue, and that's going to look really good. So let's talk about getting this car back on the road. And this is a little more specific to New Jersey, but maybe you can use the information if you live elsewhere. We bought this car from Copart, and it was sold by an insurance company. So they totaled out the car when it was rear-ended. They probably paid something out to the previous owner, sent it to Copart, and sold it to us for $625. Now, at Copart, you pay your fees, and you get a certificate of salvage. And the certificate of salvage shows you own the car legally, but beyond that, it didn't allow us to drive it on the road. It's just proof of ownership and proof that it's been totaled. So with the certificate of salvage in hand, we go to the DMV, the MVC, we get our proof of ownership. We can also start the process of getting the salvage inspection done. So you pay the fee for that. That'll allow you to book the appointment to get the salvage inspection done. So make sure you give yourself enough time to do all the work, because usually their appointments are like a month out at least. So you don't want to end up in a position where you have your appointment and your work isn't done, and then you're stuck making another appointment a month out. Anyway, once you get to the salvage inspection, you have to bring receipts of major parts. If it was brand new, you just get the receipt for the brand new part, but anything that's come off an old car, maybe that was totaled or parted out, you need to get a VIN on the receipt. They want to make sure you're not rebuilding cars with stolen parts, which is understandable. They want pictures of the car with showing the damage before you did any work. They want pictures of the car once you've done all the work, and they want all your receipts and a list, if you did the work yourself, receipts for the jobs you did. If you had a shop do it, they want to see what jobs they did too. To go to your salvage appointment, you can actually go and get a temporary tag for the car, so you can actually drive it. You don't have to tow it there, which is really nice. And you can drive it there, you hand over your paperwork, and when you're done, they actually give you the new title, and you can go back to the DMV, pay for your title fee, your new registration, and then you can go get your regular inspection. So this is the one where they check emissions and all that. So if you time it right, you could probably get that all done the same day. You go in the morning, get your salvage inspection, get your registration, get your permanent plates, go get your regular inspection, and you're all done. And then you're just driving it. at least in New Jersey, it's probably a little more involved than other states. I think there are some states where you're like, hey, I rebuilt this car, and they give you a new title. They don't want to look at it. They don't care. You're good to go, and that's really easy. I can't do that. It also would reduce the cost if in your state it's less strict. Yeah, just be aware that different places have different rules. So before you even get ready to do a rebuild of a totaled car, make sure you're aware of what the rules are where you live. Let's see. We bought this car on Copart. We picked it out because, actually kind of because of the rear end damage, kind of because of the price, we were trying to keep it really low, really budget.
And just as a note, this will depend on the car, the day of the auction, and how much interest there is. So a low price isn't guaranteed.
We know it was on the road because it was totaled out. It was sold by an insurance company, and that tends to be, cars that are on the road are usually insured, and that's the insurance company takes it and sells it at auction to recoup some of their money. So we knew it was very likely running adequately when it was rear-ended. Now we buy it, we win the auction, and this is one thing where having a truck and a trailer that can tow a car back is really important, because we weren't able to drive this off the Copart lot, and we didn't actually know how well it would drive. There was always a chance that part of the rear suspension was bent, and you can't make the assumption you can drive this. So having a way to transport it home is really important. You can pay for transport at Copart, but that can be quite expensive. If you're going to buy a car, be sure to have transport lined up and know what to expect for the process of getting it back on the road. So Copart also charges fees. They've got auction fees, document fees, depending on how much you win the car for. So the more your winning bid is, the more you're gonna have to pay in fees. So try to look at that ahead of time too, so you know what you're actually gonna be on the hook for. So once you get your car, you make your appointment. You gotta make an appointment with the transport app, get your title. You can pay ahead of time. You can pay on location, then make your appointment. And then you get your car, you drive it home, you can start your work and do the whole salvage inspection process. The rules for buying a car from Copart vary from state to state. So I'm in New Jersey, but to buy a car on Copart in New Jersey, you have to be a business. I'm not a business at this time, just an enthusiast doing this. So I can't buy directly from Copart in New Jersey without going through a broker. And that's extra fees on top of the Copart fees. Fortunately, Pennsylvania is one of the states where you can, as an individual, purchase a car from Copart. So that's where this car came from. It was at one of their lots in Pennsylvania. And actually, every car that I've got at Copart since then has been from Pennsylvania. Copart won't let you bid as an individual in states where that's not allowed, so when you're buying a car at auction, get a Carfax report if you want. If you're thinking, yeah, this is a car I want to bid on, you can get the Carfax report and get an idea of the service history or accident history. You can also look at what Copart tells you, like is it running and driving? Though running and driving means it'll start and it'll move back and forth, and that's actually something that we'll see runs and drives in the next project that's coming up. It's not the whole story. It's very basic. Runs and moves under its own power would be a good way to describe it. Others, if they're not able to start it, they don't, and that's more of a gamble. It could be anything. So you have to make a judgment call based on what you see, what you know about those cars. Like some cars are known to have major engine issues that can total the car out. Others are going to be fine, and they don't run because the battery's been dead. So it's something to consider. Purchasing a car on Copart can be a big win like this, and others it's a loss. But yeah, making an educated decision is a good idea anytime you buy any car, even if it's not at auction. Try to know ahead of time what are common issues. The Audi 2.0T is a really well documented engine. You know, the issues are pretty well known. You know, they're quite reliable. Certain transmissions are more fragile than others. I mean, in this, the DSG, it's important to service it and kind of know what to expect. It's not at low speeds. Does that. It lurches a bit. That doesn't mean there's anything wrong.
It's an automated manual,
as opposed to a torque converter automatic, and it behaves a little weird sometimes. What do I think about this car now that it's on the road? Well, it's plenty peppy. You put it in sport mode, it holds the revs higher. Right now I'm cruising at 50, and it's holding 3,000 RPM, so I can just, if I get on it, it'll move. It's got some get up. How it drives, it's a pretty firm ride. You know, it feels sporty. It handles well. Steering feels good. It shifts quick. Now, if you're looking to buy a totaled car to have a daily driver in the near term, probably not the way to go, because there could be any number of things going on with the car you get. Like this one needed some body work, as you saw, or if you haven't, be sure to go check out those videos. This one needed engine work, and not doing that engine stuff could have been a big issue. I mean, the PCV and vacuum issue could have caused damage over time, and if you blow up your engine, that's a whole different ballgame. You have to buy something, you got to put it in, and yeah, it's, you know, you can do it pretty affordably, but it's a lot. Now, can you get a car like this to a point where you daily drive it? For sure. I mean, I'd be pretty comfortable doing it with this one. I mean, I've done all the engine work. I know how it behaves. I've done the body work. I'm happy with it for now. Sure, getting a frame machine would be awesome, but I do not have the room for that. Hopefully one day I'll have the space and the money to get one of them, and I can do another project like this and make it look perfect. But in the meantime, it's a fun little car, and for not a lot of money. And something else to help keep the cost down on this project is that we were lucky enough that the tires were almost new, so that was something we didn't have to spend money on, and the brakes were good. So those two things can add a fair amount. You know, you're looking at at least a couple $100 for a brake kit. Not a bad job, but a little extra money. And tires, that could be a few $100, really, depending on where you get them, where you have the work done, or if you have a tire machine, you can do it yourself. I mean, that's the ultimate way to save money. You know, consider that when you're getting your car. You know, plan for those kind of things. Just, you might have to do those jobs when you get a project like this. And so there's a lot of variability in what you might end up paying to get the car back on the road, even if it has a clean title. You can get tires that they're practically new, they've just been on the car, but that car has been sitting so long that they will never be round again, and you got to replace them anyway. So that is something that happened to another upcoming project. I'll leave it at that. I won't spoil anything, but it's a cool one. So that wraps up this video. So what do you think? Less than $3,000 to get it from total to back on the road? Let me know in the comments. What do you think? In an upcoming video, I'll be reviewing the Android head unit we put in this car, you know, covering the features and some advice on the installation. So be sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.